We are live.
Hey.
So welcome everybody. We decided to start at 5 p.m. as we told we will be doing because the time is actually, we have the experience that the time runs very fast. And so let's start now. And if you join later, you can watch the replay. So I'm happy to welcome Holger Nils Pohl, who is a good friend and a long time. Really, we've been in contact and partnering, and you're a customer. You are all over the place. So we have been there for a long time. I'm really happy to have you here.
Thank you, Mikko. I think it's like around 12 years now. I think it was around
2011, 2010.
Right, 10, 11-ish, somewhere.
And I was starting with my Stattys business, and was it this time that you were starting with your business?
Yeah, I was starting in September 2009, so I was a freshman too from the university, and I remember I think we met in a co-working space somehow.
Yes.
And you had you came with that, I have this cool material. I'm not super sure what to do with that, but this could be an interesting business.
That was the time when we still didn't know if this will be a viable business or not. And,
exactly. And it was far from Stattys, right? It was like, what could we do with this foil that is electrostatic? It seems like it could be like Post-its, but then what?
Yeah. And would anybody understand it, what it's good for? And but we can happily say that, hey, it worked.
Yeah.
It worked. And we learned a whole lot.
Yes.
Yeah. So today we are talking about your new book, and it's not really only a book. It's a toolkit. It's hopefully a lifelong companion for people both in business and private. And I am personally, I'm so enthusiastic of anything that visualizes things. Because in my old world as controller and so on, I've just used to grow up with lists and things, and
get away,
not those visual things.
Yeah.
So we wanted to talk today also about the book, but before we start, there was I had a couple of personal questions to you, which the first ones. Would be that do you remember the time which actually triggered you to start engaging with visual working, and was there a special moment, book or something else that got you going in that direction? Because I don't think it was born like that, so I don't know.
Yeah. So
is there something? Can you remember something?
It's a good question. I think there are two things to say to that. So one thing is that I was drawing anyway all my life. So I was enjoying drawing and doing arts, visual arts especially. And therefore I first went to a university for architecture and later on for design. And I was always close to the visual part, I would say, but I was never really inclined to do the visual work in itself to solve problems and stuff. I was more on the visual side of things, to make things nice, look good, all that kind of, and drawing. But I clearly remember when I touched that field of visual thinking and visual working in business, that was, I'm not sure about the year, might be around 2010 again as well, 2010, 11 it was. On a conference for students, I taught them how they could use some simple sketches for their learning efforts. In that conference, there was a graphic recorder, Anna Louise. And after that short workshop I gave, she approached me and said, I have a business in 3 weeks in Paris, a graphic recording job with a huge chemical industry giant. Would you like to join me? And I said, that sounds cool, but what is graphic recording? And that was my start. That was the pivotal point of my career back then. That was not very long after I started my own career as a designer. And 3 weeks later, I was standing in front of a board with paper and was drawing what people were saying during that workshop. And that started the whole journey of seeing the value of visuals in business. And therefore, I developed afterwards the trainings and the visual facilitation practice and all that kind of stuff, what I'm doing today. But that is definitely the pivotal moment. So I have still to thank Annalise for reaching out to me and believing in me, because I was a complete noob to that business.
If I remember correct, that you asked me if I would have some books about sketching, and I gave you some books to read them and learn from them, and that's probably where it all started, right?
Yeah, exactly. I only had 3 weeks, so I really tried to read all the books I could find, and how is that working? How do I do this? And I mean, it worked out. If I look at the picture now, I think ooh. But anyway, everybody was happy.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Well, you really found something that you're passionate about, and I'm glad you did, because we all benefit from it. And I also remember the early stages when we spent time together. You were always drawing. You were always drawing. You had a little notebook there, and it didn't have to relate to business or anything, but you kept drawing, and that's how you get good, obviously. Yep.
Always with me, always filling it.
Yeah. Well, how about can you remember some special case where that you have experienced where this visual way of working has really created a success story for somebody, either in business or private? Does anything come up to your mind that you could share?
There are so many, Mikko. No.
Okay.
So one specific one I really like to tell is we coached an executive team, CEO, and the C-suite of a mid-sized company, 2,500, 3,000 people, I think. And they were privately owned, and it's a shipping company. We worked with them for a few months on their strategy. We even printed out a huge world map. I did this with Chris Rangen, a shared friend, right?
Yes.
And we worked on a huge world map, printed that out, and everybody was on socks, working on the strategy on that world map. Where do we want to get in the future as well, using the walls with visual tools? And that was not the most powerful thing. The most powerful thing was that the CEO, at the end of this process of, I think, 6 months, he took that leap, or really jumped in and drew the final presentation himself, 5 slides for the future strategy of the next 10 years of the company. And he took those 5 slides, hand drawn by himself, to the owner to present the future strategy. And he won, right? He got the buy-in for that strategy. That was pretty impressive, because seeing a CEO doing that, and I mean, that's pretty scary, right? A lot of people can't draw, and everything.
The higher on the ladder you are, the more it seems to be that they are afraid of take a pen in their hand and do something. If you look at the boardrooms, they don't even have anything that where you could draw or something. Nice wood everywhere, but not done for working. Maybe that has been changing already. So
it has been changing a bit, but still, I need often enough Stattys when I'm on site, because that's the thing that I can work on every surface, right? So often enough, they don't even have a whiteboard. They might have those fancy glass walls, right? Which is terrible to work on, right? And sometimes you have a wall where you can play something. They might have a screen, so it's still tricky. But yeah, looking back, that is definitely a huge success story.
Now that you mentioned Christian Rangen, who we both know and appreciate, is that you mentioned earlier today when we were in the same session that he kind of was the one to push you to write this book. And so how long has it taken?
So Chris was the very first person who said to me, you should write a book about what you know and what you do. That was 10 years ago in Copenhagen, on the airport in Copenhagen. And we were sitting down after a job, and he's like, really, you need to put that into a book. And I said I'm not sure if I'm ready, if I can tell enough, right, to write a book. And if I
know the feeling.
Experience and that kind of stuff. So he was the first one to kind of nudge me in that direction. And then over the years, more and more people said, could you please put that into a book? Could you and at some point I felt that pressure and started working on it. And then as well, I had Alex Osterwalder, Yves Peigneur as mentors on the book. and they really helped me through the process of iterating. How could it look like in terms of the concepts and what's the flow and all that. So they helped me a lot as well to push through the resistance to finish this book.
So from the moment that you made the commitment, and if I remember right, you actually made kind of a commitment that you already said that, hey, I'm writing a book. You want to buy it, and it was some time ago.
Just like 4 years or so.
But hey, if you make that kind of a commitment, it really sticks. You have to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't easy, right?
No. I mean, so 4 years ago, that was a business model test. Actually, I'm not sure. Like, I think people might be interested in that. Let me get the test book. So what I did is I created a fake book, right? You might remember that one.
Yep.
And it's basically an old existing book, a textbook that I just covered with my cover, or the back then current cover. Yeah. And I said, like, it's for pre-order, right? Yeah. And I did not only do that, but I put it into bookstores, on conferences, and in it, there is a hidden chamber, right, in that book, where we have flyers, right, that people could take out to remember it and then pre-order it. So that was kind of 4 years, perhaps even 5. And people started buying it. So that was my test to say, is it worthwhile spending more time on the book? Because I figured writing a book is quite a time investment and will, in terms of money, no matter how much you raise with a book, it will never really pay back, despite you are kind of best-selling author like Alex or something, you sell millions. But beside that, a book itself is not a good business model. So
that's true.
I wanted to be sure, but it was a mistake that I actually made people pay. I should have stopped when they clicked on, yes, I want to buy it. Now I had that pressure of saying, like, oh, damn.
If you would have gone that route, maybe we wouldn't have the book now. So
perhaps, yeah. That's how it came together.
That's funny. Okay, so I always like to, of course we have success stories and so on, but do we have some cases, and do you can remember something that went terribly wrong that you were kind of excited about it, visualizing something, it just didn't work at all? Is there something that comes up to your mind?
So something I figured over time, and I didn't understand that in the beginning, sometimes we're a bit overexcited with visuals. Mm-hmm. Especially if you are somebody who is like hyper excited about it and you use sticky notes and Stattys and drawing all the time.
And canvases and all that. I can relate to that, how exciting it was 10 years ago, 11 years ago.
Exactly. And even nowadays, we're sometimes overly excited. But there are occasions in meetings and workshops where it's better to just have a conversation, right? A reflective round, for example, a feedback round on speaking about your emotions, or just thinking through something on a theoretical basis and perhaps philosophizing about a topic is sometimes better just to sit in a circle and discuss and not use an external tool, right? Sometimes.
I'm guilty. I'm guilty. So I would say I would also have the tendency of saying, "Hey, can we visualize this something? Can we work with Stattys? Can we, But now that you make us think, I think, that's a good and valid point. So
and so
don't overdo it. Don't overdo it, right?
Don't overdo it. And I had this situation as well with an executive team, and I tried to push them, right? I have prepared this other tool. Could we go to that wall and da. And they were really pushing back and say, like, no, we need to discuss this right now, right? Get to the. And I said, like, yeah, but that's kind of blah blah blah, and I made all those arguments for let's put a visual on the wall and work with that. Yep. And they resisted and resisted and resisted. I felt like a failure, but they had a great discussion for 1.5 hours.
Okay.
They were happy afterwards, and then we continued with the rest of the program. So sometimes it's better to really step back. And I depending on I'm not knowing who is listening now and watching or in the future to the recordings. But one thing that I try to visualize for myself is often that I say, just everything that we do is on a spectrum, right? On a continuum of everything and nothing, right? And these groups, right, where you have like just an intense discussion about a topic, you want to really look into each other's eyes when you do that, right? And you want to have that deep discussion about a topic that is important to you. And perhaps you want to use 2 or 3 or 4 sentences to express your thought.
Yes.
That is very important. As well, it's important to pull up sometimes, if you talk about a business model, let's take that as an example, to pull up the business model canvas and guide people through that process, because it's more focused of the work. But what I think is, and I think it's with life all the time, it's finding that balance, right? Finding the balance between both and not being kind of too restrictive, but always saying it's both necessary. And you have to figure out, what do I do now with the people? And what do I do perhaps for myself? Because sometimes for ourselves as well, just sitting and contemplating and looking in the sky might be more powerful than sketching it down. I don't believe that I say that, but it's important.
Yes, I agree. It's difficult to imagine that coming out of your mouth, but that's learning. That's learning in life and business. So I appreciate that you share these experiences, because it helps others to remember. That there are other things as well to consider. It's not only to focus on one thing too much. Well, something that you kind of claim and in the book is that you can use visuals in the meetings to really help the participants to move forward. So what can you tell or show us? How is it done?
How is it done? So often enough, I'm preferring to say, start with small things and then work your way to the more complex things, right? So the question is always like, how can you implement something new like visual tools into your practice without overdoing it? Because again, when we think about the continuum, and I just put another piece of it, let me see if I can just make another color for it, perhaps. So I think another piece on the continuum might be that you say, okay, I just do a completely freestyle drawing piece on the wall, or better on a paper, not on the wall. But so I go completely freestyle and draw, which is very difficult for a lot of people to do, because a lot of us are not like really feeling like drawing, right?
We like to draw until we were in kindergarten, and after that we were told we can't draw really.
Exactly. Then you got art in school, and the teacher says like, this is all ugly, and then you stop drawing, right? And so that's kind of the 5-star end, right? Drawing everything for yourself, but not always necessary. And then on the other hand, or I could do it this way, because then we have the free flow more on the left and the other on the right. You could use, and that's why we work together, and why I still work extensively with Stattys. You could just use sticky notes on templates, right? That might be the business model canvas, or let's take a tool I really like from Christian Rangen, which is the strategic innovation canvas. So you take a tool, a template, that you combine with sticky notes. This is for me the more or less minimum viable product of visual tools, right? So if you feel comfortable drawing, that's cool. But if not, why not just use a template which you can use to externalize your thoughts, be more focused on a specific topic. The value of those templates often is they give you very specific questions to think about. I always say perhaps there's even one more level while I'm talking. The templates are more or less here. And then if you feel completely unassured of what you do, you just use powerful questions, right? To trigger a conversation. That could be on the other end of the equation here. But when you now look, and now I'm coming back to your question again, that's kind of a long story for a long answer for that. When you look at the combination of templates and sticky notes or something like that, I like to use, for example, it like an agenda board just in the beginning. You would be surprised how many meetings are held without any agenda, not even in an email, not even said out loud, nothing. So people spend time without knowing what they spent their time for. I'm always surprised that people even accept that, an invitation without an agenda.
Fully agree. Time wasted, a lot of time wasted.
It's crazy.
Still today.
Yeah, still today. It's crazy. So what I would suggest is there are online enough templates, or I mean, you can buy my book and get all the templates for free in digital version, or you go to Stattys and buy them in printed version, right?
Good hint. I'll post the link, by the way, so that if somebody hasn't seen the campaign yet while you're drawing, just posted the link there. Also, thank Augustin to join and to comment. He's commenting, absolutely agree. Visual clarity and deeper conversations go hand in hand. So keep those comments coming. Nice.
Yeah, please keep them coming. So when you think of a template that can enhance every meeting, right? Every single meeting is the agenda board. The agenda board is basically a very simple one. In the middle, you have a picture of like a horizon with a way to it, like a street or something. On the right, you state the agenda points, what you plan to do. On the left, you say what kind of roles do we need to be in this meeting, and what kind of rules are important to make this meeting a success, right? And basically, you have boxes here and here, just a rough sketch of that, right? So if we see that board, and you can use that again and again, of course, because if you don't write on it, but use sticky notes on it, then you can use it again and again, and you can place your points on it. So for example, you could say agenda at whatever clock we do this, at whatever clock we do this. You put the next sticky note on it. Let me just grab more. You put the next one on and say third point, fourth point, right? All those elements you can put here to make people aware this is what we plan, what we want to do. You can talk about the objective of the meeting. So you could put something here and say, this is our objective of that meeting that we want to achieve with those agenda points. And you can already either predefine the roles and the rules for yourself, or you can ask your participants and say, do we need to be explorers in this meeting because we're talking about new things, innovation and stuff? Or do we need to be scientists because it's about data that we have? In terms of rules, what's important to us? Perhaps speaking up is important for us because there might be difficult topics and we want to really listen into the feedback. Perhaps
how would you get the silent people who normally are behind and don't want really to say something? That's something.
That's a good question. I cover this question in a second.
Okay.
I will keep that. But like you would have the different rules that you need, right, for the meeting. And you're said and done and have already on this template. The cool thing is that they don't hide anything behind. If you would use normal sticky notes, that's why I hate then normal sticky notes for this purpose. If you put sticky notes, you would hide the graphics here or there, right? You would kind of destroy the template a bit. This way it's more cleaner. Here in the center, perhaps you would prefer to turn around your study so it's showing wide and then write the objective so it's more clear in that picture. So you can play with that a bit as well. That's why I like the Stattys here, using them all the time. To your question, how do we get silent people? Let me give you another example. Brainstorming, right, is a classic example. You want to hear the ideas of everybody, but basically just a few people speak up. What do you do? When you start brainstorming, you let people work individually first. I often let them write on sticky notes, right? Every idea on sticky notes, but without talking, everybody individual.
So that they don't get primed from somebody trying to push their agenda through, right?
And nobody's talking about their ideas, right? Nobody is louder or more wise, or you know that as well. No, like I really love everybody who's native English speaking, but you have an advantage, right? Normally in every global meeting, the native speakers have more airtime because they are just more eloquent. They speak more freely. They have no fear.
Easier for them, and
way easier.
Yeah.
So you let people individually write down their ideas, and only after 3 to 5 minutes, they put the idea on the wall and then start discussing about them in a positive sense in terms of what could we do, how can we merge them, how can we make them even better. And that's how you can do every round of feedback or whatever it is. Always saying individual feedback first, then we bring it to the group, right? Individual insights, then to the group. That's how you bring the silent people to it.
That's a very, very nice tip. Like, I think, there we already have quite a bit of efficient recommendations for meetings. Two nuggets there. Have your agenda visualized, have it done, and get people to plot their ideas before before they present them. So give everybody kind of an equal start. Yeah. I really like that one. If we're talking about meetings, something comes up to my mind is that I've always kind of imagined of companies having meeting rooms, perhaps with few tables where you can stand. So no chairs to be sitting, and the only other things that you basically need is a marker, and is a Stattys block and a wall.
Yeah.
And you will be, I believe you will be so much more effective, and everybody wants to go out much faster, and you got everything visualized immediately. So
true. As well as you think more sharp when you're standing, right? When you're sitting, your brain is quickly going into that mode of nothing can happen to me. I can't even fall because I sit, right? So I don't need to take care too much. When you stand, you're more aware. That's basically, Mikko, I see you sitting, or I stand, right? I can walk here and back and forth because it makes me more aware and more alert as well for these kind of sessions.
I like it. I've actually I have already purchased a table underground, which I can lift up.
Yes.
But I have so much gear on my table, I'm afraid of doing
it. Same here. But I have the standing desk and I love it. So highly recommend to everybody.
That's a very good recommendation as well. I would really do it. Yep. All right, let's move to the next topic that we were discussed a little bit in the advance, so that often this applies both to private and business life. We have really complex issues that we are struggling to getting our head straight, and I can say I'm guilty often. So it's kind of I start thinking something. Might be that I write some bullet points somewhere, then comes a distraction, and and then the next day, and I start again, and so I probably it's not uncommon that you go through 10 and more cycles of the same issue that you kind of trying to figure out in your head, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think your book also, in your book, you kind of recommend us to do it a bit differently.
Yeah. So I'm not even sure how to answer that because it's a very broad question.
I know.
So one thing definitely is, and perhaps you're already convinced of visual tools, so I'm preaching to the how do you say it, to the converted or whatever. But so one thing is that if we put something on paper and externalize our thoughts, it becomes more clear, right, to us. As well, we can see the connections. And that is not only for ourselves, but as like both, right, individual and for others. So if you see that, like just as an example, so you try to ponder about a challenge or a problem. So you are here right now and you try to figure out whatever, it's an idea, a challenge, or whatever you think of, what you're just thinking of. You might think about, I don't know, your users at that given moment, and then your brain jumps to the technology that you could use. And then it jumps to your new standing desk. And then it jumps to, I need to set up the tech in a proper way. And then you jump to what is actually what I want to talk about. And you jump back and forth. If that is only happening in your head, you forget everything right away that you thought before, or at least it's not present anymore. And it's very difficult to see the connections, right? If you put that on a piece of paper, however you do that, right? That could be with sticky notes, that could be with a drawing, a sketch, however good or bad that is, you can start seeing those. You can start understanding how they are connected and say, this is connected here. This is more a back and forth. I see here a challenge, right? I see a slope or a loose connection here. I think we're missing something here. So you start seeing all that wasn't in your head before, or it was, but you couldn't understand it properly, right? So by externalizing basically your thoughts on a surface, I think you can just think better, right? And not only that, I think it's as well important to understand that if you do that with other people, let me draw quickly a smaller group of people here, like your coworkers, they think as well something else, right? Because they see the problem from another angle, but by seeing the picture, getting it back to them, you all start seeing and thinking about the same things, right? You can align your thinking and understand better what the other person is thinking about, saying. It creates alignment, shared language, all that kind of stuff. And basically that's what we call system thinking, right? Complex challenges that we try to solve, we solve them by understanding the different elements of the problem and understanding the connections. And when we map those out, we can actually see them and discuss about them, right?
Okay, and this helps you to avoid to run from the beginning always, so that actually when you go away, you kind of release your brain capacity to some new ideas, and when you come back, you might have a new idea on that. So it kind of,
this always stays, right?
Yeah.
No matter how you did it. You did it on the wall, perhaps you take a photo, you did it in your notebook, right? You can do that in a sketch, whatever you did, but it's always there. And the nice thing is, when you go away from this, your mind has this picture ingrained. And while you're doing something else, your unconscious mind is already trying to design solutions for that. So in the moment you're coming back, you say like, yeah, I understand. I could do this here. And I think this is really important. So we could drive this further, right? This is happening because your unconscious mind could work on it more specifically after you visualized it for yourself.
Yeah. Nice. Now I have another personal question, because you trigger different things when you tell us things like this. Is that in the mornings, when I'm in sleep, and in the morning when I wake up, it kind of feels nice, because it's an empty day. Everything is empty in the head.
Yeah.
And then I can still somehow structure what I would like to think about next. That's the only time of the day that works, at least for me.
Yeah.
Now I was kind of curious if you do the same thing, and do you start to visualize or your thoughts in that kind of phase, or is this just going too far?
Okay, stop the recording, please. No, so like very open, very honest. I'm a completely chaotic person, and like a lot of people don't think that, but I am as well an intuitive creator. That's what I learned about myself in the past years. So I'm not somebody who can really plan ahead properly. I am more driven by excitement and ideas that jump at me. So I'm not the best planner, but what I still do, I think not the first thing in the morning, but the third, fifth, sixth thing in the morning, because I stand up, my day is pretty structured in the morning because I need to. The alarm goes, I stand up, I make breakfast for the whole family, and that's 5 people, right? My wife and 3 kids. I prepare the school meals, and then we have breakfast together. And when we have breakfast together, I have a planning session with my wife. Often enough, we do that with a calendar and say, like, this is what's going on and this is what we do next.
But you also work together, is that?
We work together, but I mean, we have a family, right? So
so it's both. Is it family and business and private?
And business together,
nice.
Right? And so we have to do both. So we plan both and say, this is what's happening today. That is really important for me, because then I actually know at least some anchor points in the day, what will happen. And I do that visually, not with sketchnoting or something, but with a calendar. I think a calendar is a great visual tool itself.
Yep, I would definitely agree that that's something.
Yeah.
Now I have a little. I think it's a nice little story that kind of matches to this topic. Now is that I have a customer who. who wanted to buy Stattys, and he told about his challenge that he's maybe he's even listening, but let's not mention any names. But he said that he's changing. He stepped out from his corporate world and he wanted to start a new business, and he used the whole living room wall for his thoughts to start thinking the process. What would I, where would I focus? What would I do?
Yeah.
And so it was interesting to hear that. And also the comment that the wife says, well, how long do you think these are going to stay?
Exactly. When will you be finished with this decoration piece here? Yeah, so there's one thing that you trigger as well. I can't show that anymore because I have a new office and it's not here anymore. And you need to remember the name. You have the Stattys in flip chart size, right? Or nearly flip chart size.
Yes, the Stattys whiteboard sheets, that's what we call them. Yeah.
Whiteboard sheets. So what I did with the books, this is like a test print of this. I printed out every double page, but very small, like basically this size, right?
Yes.
And I printed that out on paper. I put the whiteboard Stattys, right? I put that on the wall. So basically this flip chart will be an electrostatic surface now on the wall.
Yeah.
And I put all the printouts of those pages on my wall. So the normal paper, I can actually show that, right? So the very normal paper, if you put Stattys, in most cases 2 are enough. If you put 2 Stattys on a wall here, and you take like a piece of paper, it will stick on the flip chart. It's just a normal piece of paper, right? You know that, right?
But cool tips here.
Yeah, some pro tips. This is super cool because you don't need glue, right? You can just place a normal paper on any surface with the Stattys. So with the big whiteboard Stattys, I had them covering my I think I used 5 or 6 of those.
Right.
Covering my wall. And I had all my printouts of the pages and I put them on the wall. And that allowed me to oversee the whole flow and structure of the book, which would not be possible in any other way. Right? On a screen, too small.
Yep.
No way. No way you see all the pages in one. And then you can see the flow and say, like, this is missing here. I should shift this. And then you can take the print off the wall, another print as well. You can shift things around. So that was pretty cool. In terms of externalizing your thoughts, that's another value, I would say, right? When you make something visual, you can actually see the whole picture, not as a metaphor, but literally the whole picture. Yeah.
Yeah, it is scary. I mean, literally, what do you tell about the things and also what you have in the book? They are exactly my thinkings and what I've been. It's kind of why I could have almost written that book, but I don't have the design skills. But everything else I understand.
Yeah.
But that's where we get to the next topic. Is that, like I said, hey, I kind of feel that I can't draw, right? So I think I'm not alone, and I can remember from my own childhood, that when you were in the kindergarten, there were competitions just to color a picture, and I remember that I won a competition that was on the bank window, my coloring, and I was probably I don't know, 5 years old or so. Still proud about that. But after that, it's like, oh my God. I got more into numbers and forgot the visuals, and it's probably only when a common friend of us recommended the book Business Model Generation at those early days, that triggered something in my head and said the power of visual tools.
Yeah.
That because I've written business plans, 130 pages in my previous working life, and nobody understood what's in there, and it's all no longer valid, and it's all just assumptions anyway. So there's basically not much value in doing that kind of exercise. So that helped us. But let's get back to the question. Yeah, I think it's rather common as well. We talked about how the top executives don't like often to take a pen in the hand and draw something, but it goes down, in the to most of us, right?
True.
We ask somehow, and it feels ridiculous, right? But we are somehow scared to draw. So is this is something that you cover in the book as well, right? And
I do. So we have.
So does it help? How does it help to get over and done with it?
So, so first of all, I got an example of somebody we both know very well, who's drawing a lot, and his character name in the book is Alex.
Oh, I can envision.
He's drawing a lot as well in front of thousands of people.
Yes.
And he himself says as well he can't draw, and it's actually true, right?
Yeah.
So in terms of the perspective of somebody who would kind of give a grade or something to the quality of the drawing, the perfection of the drawing, it's not good.
Yeah.
But does it communicate the story, and does it help people focus on the story? Yes. Do people care? No, they don't.
Yeah.
Actually, he got the feedback all the time, like, it's so great that you draw these concepts, and it helps so much in clarifying the concepts, right?
Yes.
So we need to get away from that thinking that we need to draw in a perfect way. Even like, I would even say that this looks okay-ish, right? It was quick. In the camera, I see that they're like a bit like far out and stuff, but this is already quite an okay drawing, right? For a lot of people, they would say, I can't draw this.
Hey, that's a piece of art for us.
Right. So for some of you at least, right?
Yeah.
But still, it's relatively unrefined, right? And what I think is very powerful of unrefined drawings is that people are able to interact with them, give feedback, and even sometimes, for example, take a sticky note and say, look, Holger, that was a great story, but I think you missed something here. And they might either sketch something or write something or put a sticky note on that drawing. They wouldn't do that if it would be a perfect, like a Mona Lisa or something, right? Or like the perfect sketch with colors and it's perfectly laid out, because they see, okay, Holger spent a lot of time on this. Perhaps I better say not. Something about detail. So what you do is, by not being good in drawing, you open up the stage for interaction, right? And the second thing is, everybody can draw at least a minimum types of things, right? If you look at what I have drawn here on this page, right? Just look at what we did. We drew a box, a circle, a triangle, some arrows, right? This one is a bigger box, right? It has kind of an edge in it, so it looks like a paper, but it's basically a box. We have drawn some clouds, which are thinking bubbles. And I would say, Mikko, you would agree with me, this is all, you can draw all of this, right?
Yeah, not that nice,
straight, but
yes, I can draw that.
You can draw that. Okay, good. And I hope our audience too, who's listening here.
Yes.
So, but if this person, for example, is too complex for you, I always recommend people to go back to the very basics and say, this could be a person too.
Yes.
Right. And this
I can more relate to that.
Right. This could be a group of people.
Yeah.
So why not exchange those people with those? All of a sudden, you can even draw like emotional conversations. You can draw people, right? You can build all that. So with that skill set, you can already say quite a lot of things. And then the last piece that I always recommend is, if you really don't know what to draw really, you can use those elements here, boxes, piece of paper, thinking bubble, speech bubble. You can use all that for covering your writing. So you just write something on the paper and then you put a thinking bubble around, and all of a sudden it looks like a drawing, but you didn't actually draw something. And then you make the connections and everybody thinks like, that is a great concept, right? And if you want to go fancy, you draw an idea or innovation and you have like a simple light bulb, and even that you will manage. So what I'm saying here is, I think with a very basic skill set and with very simple icons, you can act. I think everybody can draw, right? To a certain level that it feels comfortable enough. And I have a chapter in the book on this to guide you through how you could do that with the text containers, some simple icons, and some people drawings as well. So I hope that helps people to overcome that first resistance of putting the pen on the paper, right? And never forget, in most cases, you don't do that really for the presentation, but in a working session often, right? So you can as well divide in terms of, do I work on a challenge or do I present something? If it's a working session, you can be way more sketchy. If it's a presentation, you want to be more clear, perhaps.
Okay.
Take a bit more time.
What you now kind of triggered me is that if somebody is talented in drawing, and we tend to have people also in the room that are then already fluent in drawing, and they are doing that. So, but you actually saying that we might give them a hint not to do that perfect drawings because everybody else is then scared to draw, right?
Yeah, what I actually do for those who can draw, right? By purpose I draw less good in front of other people.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to raise that border too high, right? So basically, I could make a nicer drawing right now, but sure. I would not do, because it would not serve the purpose of a communication tool.
Yeah.
And sometimes, for those who can draw, there is a danger that you fall in love with the drawing.
Of course.
And not think on the conceptual level.
Yeah, because I can draw so well, I'm gonna, everybody's gonna like me, and wow, you are great in drawing. But
yes,
that takes you on the wrong path, right?
Exactly, and you dive into details of the drawing itself, and you forget to think about the concept itself.
Okay.
And I always think the concept and the content is more important than the drawing, at least for me. If you're an illustrator and you have to illustrate a board game or, I don't know, like a book, or then the drawings are more important, right? But if you use that as a thinking or working tool, then concept and content is more important than your drawing. And if you draw too well and you lose yourself in the details, you forget about the concept, or you fear to change it because it's so nice. I don't want to destroy this.
Yeah. Another one.
Yeah.
Some great insights for people to think about. And I would say, if there's somebody there who has such a case, why not tell another person that sorry, but your drawing is too good. Could you draw a little bit worse? It's not helping. Yeah, would be. I think it would be okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now I don't consider you at all a person who wants to sell something, but I think this is a good moment that I believe you have other books as well that has these drawings and helps it for people to get started. So if somebody's kind of hesitated and so on, so maybe it's just a little
a plug. Let me just get one of the books.
Yes. This was not planned, but
no, it was not planned, but it's nice, right? So I have a series of books, right? That's 100 daily drawings. I have volume 1, 2, and I have 100 people drawings. And what we tried here is that you basically, let me find a nice page for you. I don't know. They are all nice. Let's take just a random one here. That was Christmas. Let's do this one here. So on each page, I'm not sure if you see that well, but you have a step-by-step drawing, for example, for a paper boat here, paper fold boat. And you can actually then draw, right? Piece by piece, copy that. And by practice, we learn. And if you do one drawing a day, that's a 2-minute effort and you get better every day. So I have 3 of those. I think they are valuable. They are available as well as ebook, if people prefer ebook over print, right? But yeah, I think it's important that we train that part of our brain too.
Yeah. And now where can you get them?
So you can get them on my page, holgernilspohl.com, and then you go for the books, or on any other store online that you can imagine, right? And we're as well planning perhaps to put them on Stattys, I think. But let's see.
What do you mean?
I think we plan to do them perhaps on Stattys in the future.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. That's enough selling for now, but it was okay.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and no pressure. And I mean, you can as well, if you want to search for me on YouTube. Last Christmas I had a series of step-by-step drawing videos. I think 24 are online if you want to just enjoy and draw a bit along with me. So happy for you to do that too, completely for free.
Nice. Okay, so the last topic from my side would be that what actually often happens when we only talk, right? You are completely clear in your mind what you are telling, and it could be that the receiver of your message is not clear at all. Yeah, and I think this happens more often than we like it, and sometimes people don't even trust to say or to ask or whatsoever. So what do you recommend in that case to try to get your message through, and even them to try to get them to buy into your idea if you're trying to convince them about your idea? What comes up to your mind in that?
So what comes up to my mind? So first of all, I think we all need to build skills in better listening while we talk. So you see often reactions of people, and sometimes you just overrun them, right? And you say like, yeah, but it's sort of like, I know what I'm telling. Often enough, I think it's the wrong approach to try to really convince somebody of your idea, and better go out and try to understand where they are, what their problems are, and then how you can help them. Right? And I mean, it's a bit of that thinking around what I have in the book with the clarity framework, where I say,
yeah, we haven't seen that yet, so please show us.
You haven't seen that yet, right? Let's just talk about that quickly. But any process or project that you have, I think, should and will start with understand, right? Where you try to understand the challenge, you try to understand the customer, you try to understand what you want to do. Somehow having a starting point. Often enough, people skip that phase and start right away with create, right? Where they fancy brainstorm and create new solutions. But the problem is that if you start with create, you're solving a problem that is not really there often enough, or you're solving the wrong problem. Correct. And the same goes for presentation, right? When let's say you want to present an idea or sell something to somebody else, and you go in with your idea and try to sell that, you never understand in the first place, is that really for them? Or should I tweak that in a way that it's better fit? Yep. What I do when somebody's asking me to pitch for that, like a company or so, I would always go in and focus the whole pitch presentation only on understand. I would go in and say, what's holding you back from achieving the goals that you have? What kind of jobs do you try to do, right? What would you wish as outcomes? What would you fear, right, when this happens? And as well, how do you think this should going forward if we work together? And I literally never speak about why I'm so great or what I can offer. only about them, right? About them. At the end of each pitch presentation, I got the job because they feel understood. Afterwards, we go create a solution with them together. And then that's the last step here in the clarity framework is we share, right? Either we go live with our product, with the service, we show the presentation to somebody, whatever it is. And when we have done that, we have basically shared what we have done and created. We go back to a next level of understanding because we use the feedback that we get here, either on the concept or the presentation itself or whatever it is, and we go through that loop. And you can think of this basically in every methodology. We do that in Scrum, we do that in design thinking, we do that in Lean Startup, in business model innovation, in Lean Six Sigma. I don't know more, but you count them.
Yep.
There are different steps to them and you can plug them here, but basically what you do is understand, create, share in a continuous cycle, right? And that's how I would say you convince people better of your ideas when you start here.
And sometimes when you're creating something new, it's obviously difficult to start from the understanding. You have a kind of the urge to create first something, right?
Yeah.
So how does it work there? I mean, if there's a clear problem, then it's fine.
Yes. So let's think back to Stattys, right? Let's take that as a case.
Okay.
So you came and say, I have this great material. I think this could be Post-its, but I don't know.
Yep.
Okay.
The next generation of Post-its, yeah.
Next generation of Post-its, right?
Yep.
So that was your first idea. You brought in that. So what we did for a long time is trying to understand what we could do with those studies. What kind of problems do we solve, right? What kind of challenges do people have with current Post-it notes, for example, right? So what would be the advantage of this? Basically, we spent a lot of time and understand, even though sometimes we did a quick cycle and say, let's talk to somebody. Look, we have this. Or you went to Alex Osterwalder, right? Look, I have this, right? So you created a quick prototype. You shared that with your future customer prospect, and you got the feedback back what you have to change, right? And then you continued. But
sometimes it was difficult. So I do remember these painful moments, and it's kind of like when we showed people that you can slide them on the wall, and they, wow, this, and then when you go out and you ask them, hey, how many would you like to buy? Yeah. And then you kind of hear how their head starts spinning around. What should I do with it?
Exactly.
Yeah. So that was one of the problems that we realized pretty early, and that's where the business model canvas kicked in and said, "Hey, how about combining, this one and the business model canvas, and these two together, they bring you the value."
Exactly.
And that worked.
Yeah,
that worked. So, but that was kind of, I believe, that was one of the key success factors.
It was. And it was only due to we are running a lot of cycles of this.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Thinking about how could we do it, creating a solution, sharing with somebody, getting feedback, doing it again, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes these cycles are very small, just a few minutes. Sometimes it's months and years.
Let's stay with the months, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's not get any further. So we are coming to the end, and actually we did offer that we might be able to answer questions. So if somebody has a quick question, please post it now to the chat. We can try to answer that, and otherwise you will be able to contact us. You get a replay message for this webinar also in 24 hours, and you can watch it again, or for the people who missed this, and get the link. Yeah, they will also have the opportunity to watch this. So I think I'm feeling really happy. This was very nice session to me. I learned again, there's always you learn something. I got to quite a few valuable insights that I took me home. I couldn't write them down. I need to watch the replay so that.
Then you draw them, right?
Yeah, then I need to draw them.
Mm-hmm.
I have to admit the only way to learn drawing is to draw. It doesn't work by reading books or reading studying studying images or whatsoever. The only way is to write.
Only what you practice growth.
Yeah, you can learn. So Holger, great.
Thank you very much, Mikko.
Thank you for being here, and let's close it here. Something you want to say at the end?
Oh, it was a pleasure. Thank you for having me here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for being there. Bye now.
Take care. Bye-bye.
There's the button. There we go.